ॐ शुक्लाम्भरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। अगजाननपद्मार्कं गजाननमहर्निशम् अनेकदन्तं भक्तानाम् एकदन्तमुपास्महे। श्रीमहागणपतये नमः। गुरवे सर्वलोकानां भिषजे भवरोगिणां निधये सर्वविद्यानां श्रीदक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं। ज्ञानानन्दमयं देवं निर्मलस्फटिकाकृतिम् आधारं सर्वविद्यानां श्रीहयग्रीवमुपास्महे। श्रीहयग्रीवमूर्तये नमः। सरस्वति नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणि विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। श्रीमहासरस्वत्यै नमः। उमाकोमलहस्ताब्ज सम्भावितललाटकं हिरण्यकुण्डलं वन्दे कुमारं पुष्करस्रजं। வெற்றிவேல் முருகனுக்கு ஹரஹரோஹரா. லோகவீரியம் மகாபூஜ்யம் சர்வரக்ஷாகரம் விபும் பார்வதி ஹிருதயானந்தம் சாஸ்தாரம் பிரணமாம்யகம். சுவாமியே சரணமையப்பா. வாகர்த்தாவிவ சம்பிருக்தௌ வாகர்த்த பிரதிபத்தஹே ஜகதः பிதரோ வந்தே பார்வதி பரமேஸ்வரௌ. ஸ்ரீ பார்வதி பரமேஸ்வராभ्यां நமः. कोमलं पूजयन् वेणुं श्यामलोऽयं कुमारकः वेदवेद्यं परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। अस्मद्गुरुचरणारविन्दाभ्यां नमः। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। श्रीकृष्ण गोविन्द हरे मुरारे श्रीनाथ नारायण वासुदेव। पीताम्बरं करविराजितचक्रशङ्खकौमोदकी सरसिजं करुणासमुद्रं राधासहायम् अतिसुन्दरमन्दहासं वातालयेशम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि। कृष्णो रक्षतु मां चराचरगुरुः कृष्णं नमस्ये सदा। कृष्णेनैव सुरक्षितोऽहमसकृत् कृष्णाय दत्तं मनः। कृष्णादेव समुद्भवो मम विभो कृष्णस्य दासोऽस्म्यहं। कृष्णे भक्तिरचञ्चलास्तु भगवन् हे कृष्ण तुभ्यं नमः। श्रीगुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं नम्राणां सन्निधत्ते सततमपि पुरस्तैरनभ्यर्थितानपि आर्तान् कामानजस्रं वितरति परमानन्दसान्द्रां गतिं च। इत्थं निःशेषलभ्यो निरवधिकफलः पारिजातो हरे त्वं क्षुद्रं तं शक्रवाटी ध्रुममभिलषति व्यर्थमर्त्यव्रजोऽयं। श्रीगुरुवायूरप्पा शरणं श्रीभट्टपादम् अनिशं हृदि भावयामि। वंशीविभूषितकरात् नवनीरदाभात् पीताम्बरात् अरुणबिम्बफलादरोष्टात् पूर्णेन्दुसुन्दरमुखात् अरविन्दनेत्रात् कृष्णात् परं किमपि तत्त्वमहं न जाने। കൈരണ്ടും കൂപ്പി ഞാൻ വീണ്ടും ഇറക്കുന്നു നീരജലോചന നിന്നോടായി. ഏതീനു മഞ്ഞാനെ കുമ്പീരേണ്ട തോറു പ്രീതിയിൽ നീ എന്നെ പാലിക്കനായി. കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ ജയ കൃഷ്ണ ഹരേ. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the class. If my connection is flaky, let me know. I'm still dialing in from India, so the internet may be a little off. Okay, so we'll do a quick review of 69. Any two volunteers who want to do it?
I can do it. Lakshmi here.
Okay,
Lakshmi here.
I can do it also, sir.
I can also.
Okay, Lakshmi and Bhuvana, you both do it. Half.
Okay. Starting, huh? So Dasakam 69, Rasa Krida Vana. केशपाशधृतपिञ्जिका विदति सञ्चलन् मकरकुण्डलम् हारजालवनमालिकाललित मङ्गरागगणसौरभम् पीतचेलधृतकाञ्चिकाञ्चितम् उदञ्चतं शुमनिनूपुरम् रासकेलिपरिभूषितं तव हि रूपमीश कलयामहे तावदेव कृतमण्डने कलितकञ्चुलीककुचमण्डले कण्ठलोलमणिकुण्डले युवति मण्डलेद परिमण्डले अन्तरा सकलसुन्दरीयुगलम् इन्दिरारमण सञ्चरन् मञ्जुलां तदनुरासकेलिमयि कञ्चनाभसमुपादता वासुदेव तव पासमानमिह रासकेलिरससौरभम् दूरतोऽपि खलु नारदागदितम् आकलय्य कुतुकाकुला वेशभूषणविलासपेशलविलासिनी शतसमावृता नागतो युगपता वियति वेगतोदसुरमण्डली वेणुनादकृतदानकल कानरागकतियोजना लोपनीय मृदुपादपादकृत तालमेलन मनोहरम् पाणिसङ्वणितकङ्कणं च मुहुरं सलम्बित कराम्बुजम् श्रोणिबिम्बचलतम्बरं भजत रासकेलिरसडम्बरम् श्रद्धया विरिचिदानुकानकृत तार मधुरस्वरे नर्दनेत ललिताङ्गहार लुलिताङ्गहार मणिभूषणे सम्मतेन कृतपुष्पवर्षमलमुन्मिषद् दिविशतां कुलम् चिन्मये त्वयि निलीयमानमिव सम्मुमोहः सवतु कुलम्.
You can stop your Lakshmi.
So I learned a slightly different tune.
Go sing, do it the way you want, because I know this, everybody's singing it differently, so I'll let you all sing the way you want on this.
Sri Krishnaya Paramane Namaha. స్విన్న సన్నతను వల్లరి తదను కాపి నామ పశు పాంగన కాంతమం సమవ లంబతే స్మతవ తాంతి భార ముకులేక్షణ కాచిదాసలిత కుంతలానవ పటీర సార గణ సౌరభం వంచనేన తవ సంచు సుంబ భుజమంచితోరు పులకాంగురా కాపి గండ భువి సన్నిధాయ నిజ గండమాకులిత కుండలం పుణ్యపూర నిధిరన్వవాప తవ పూగ చర్వితర సామృతం ఇందిరావృతి మందిరం భువన సుందరం హి నటనాంతరే త్వామవాప్య దురంగనాః కిమున సమ్మదోన్మతద సాంతరం గానమీశ విరతం క్రమేణ కిల బాధ్యమేళన ముపారతం బ్రహ్మ సమ్మదరసాకులాస్తదసి కేవలం నృతు రంగనాః నావిదన్నపి చ నీవికాం కిమపి కుంతలీమపి చ కంచులీం జ్యోతిషామపి కదంబగం దివి విలంబితం కిమపరం బ్రువే మోదసీం నిభువనం విలాప్య విహృతిం సమాప్య చ తతో విభో కేలి సంవృదిత నిర్మలాంగనవ ధర్మలేశ సుభగాత్మనాం मन्मथासहन चेतसां पशुपयोषितां सुहृतचोदितः तावदा कलितमूर्तिराधित मारवीर परमोत्सवान्
And the last
केलि
last Murtir Dadhita.
मूर्तिरार्दतित दधित मारवीर परमोत्सवान् केलिभेद परिलोलिदाभिरति लालिदाभिरभ लालिभी स्वैरमीशननु शूरजापयसि चारुनाम विहृतिं व्यधाः काननेऽपि च विचारि शीतल किशोरमारुतमनोहरे सौरभमये विलेसित विलासिनी शतविमोहनम्.
First line last word lalibihi. There is a visarga there. Okay.
Lalibihi.
Lalita bhiraba lalibihi. The visarga sound adding here.
Yes, Birabihi. Yes, sir. कामिनीरितिः यामिनीक्षु खलु कामनीयकनिधे भवान् पूर्णसम्मदरसार्णवं कमपि योगी गम्यनु भावयन् ब्रह्म शङ्करमुखानपीह पशुपाङ्गनासु बहुमानयन् भक्तलोकगमनीय रूप कमनीय कृष्ण परिपाहि माम्. श्री कृष्णाय परब्रह्मणे नमः.
It is the last line we'll say 3 times.
3 times yeah.
Last line 3 times. Okay, no worries.
Okay.
Yeah, but like I said, it's okay if you all sing in your various tunes. When you do the Parayanam, we'll stick to the tune that we learned in the class. So, all right, we'll start with the Dasakam 70. Deepa, you can be a student, and Ravi, you can be a student. So this has got a couple of stories in there. Shankachuda Vadavarnanam, Vrishabhasura Vadavarnanam, and then Sudarshana Shapa Moksham. So 3 different things there. So this is almost coming to the end of the Brindavan Leela. So we saw how it was initially in Gokulam, right? And then initially born in Mathura, then went to Gokulam, and then in Dashakam 49 they moved to Vrindavan. Now they're completing the end of the Vrindavan. I think in 2 more Dashakams, Krishna is going to leave Vrindavan. So it's coming to the tail end of the Vrindavan portion. Stanza 1. Ite tvairasakulam ramita vallabhe vallavaha kadapi puramambika kamiturambika kanane sametya bhavata samham nishinishevya divyotsavam sukham sushupuragrasid vrajapam ugranagastada. So after that Rasa Krida, everything is over. So all of that story is completed. And then now a new story is starting. So one day, all these Gopas, they decided to go and to a forest called as Ambika Forest, some other portion, some other place. Don't know where it is. Some places refer to it as on the banks of river Saraswati. So they probably traveled a lot, but I don't know. Anyway, so they all go there. So they all go, and in Ambika Forest, there is a temple for Shiva and Parvati, Pashupati and Ambika. That's why it's called Ambika Forest. So they go there, and many times they go, they have to travel long distances, right? So they end up staying there for a long amount of time, for a few days. So they were staying there for a long amount of time. One of the nights, when they were actually sleeping in the forest at night, a very big snake comes up. So Vrashabam Ugranagasthada, so very ferocious like python, massive sized snake comes in and then starts biting Nandagopa. Iti tvai rasakulam ramita vallabhe vallavaha, kadapi puram ambika kamitur ambika kanane sametya bhavata samam nishi nishevya divyotsavam, sukham sushupuragrasid prajapam ugra nagas tada. So just a comma at the end of every line.
Rajesh, first sentence மட்டும் அந்த second half சொல்லுங்க.
Kadapi puram
First sentence.
Iti tvai rasakulam ramita vallabhe vallabhaha.
Okay, thank you.
Bha and then va.
Rajesh, third line samam nishi nished vyadi vyotsamama.
Nishi nishevya divyotsavam.
Okay.
So Divya Utsavam. So they just had a like a Utsavam, like a festival or a function there. That's all. Ite tvai rasakulam ramita vallabhe vallavaha kadapi puram ambika kamiturambika kanane sametya bhavata samam nishi nishevya divyotsavam sukham sushupuragrasid brajapam ugranagastadha.
इति त्वयि रसाकुलं रमितवल्लभे वल्लवाः कदापि पुरमम्बिका कमितुरम्बिका कानने समेत्य भवता समं निशि निषेव्य दिव्योत्सवं सुखं सुषुपुरग्रसीद व्रजपम् उग्रनागस्तदा इति त्वयि रसाकुलं रमितवल्लभे वल्लवाः कदापि पुरमम्बिका कमितुरम्बिका कानने समेत्य भवता समं निशि निषेव्य दिव्योत्सवं सुखं सुषुपुरग्रसीद व्रजपम् उग्रनागस्तदा.
And the last line, Deepa, Sushupur Agrasit. Just it. Agrasit.
Shushupur Agrasid.
Yeah, seed. It. Then Vrajapam Ugra.
Okay.
Idi tvai rasakulam ramita vallabhe vallavaha kadapi puram ambika kamiturambika kanane sameta bhavata samam nishi nisheshvya divyotsavam sukham shushupur agrasit vrajabham ugranagastada. Idi tvai rasakulam ramita vallabhe vallavaha kadapi puram ambika kamiturambika kanane sametya bhavata samam nishi nisheshvya divyotsavam sukham shushupur agrasit vrajabham ugranagastada.
Answer 2. Samhun mukamatol mukair abhihate pitasmin balat amunchati bhavat pade nyapati pahi pahi titaihi tada khalu pada bhavan samupagamya pasparshatam bhavau sacha nijam tanum samupasadya vaidyadharim. So here then when Nandagopa is bit with a snake, suddenly at night, then he starts shouting, right? He starts calling out Krishna's name, saying, Krishna, Pahi, Pahi. Means, please save me, O Krishna, please help me, O Krishna. He's just calling out to his son. So like we saw in Ajamilo Pakyanam, right? It doesn't matter whether you're calling Bhagavan's name or you're calling somebody else who has the same name. It doesn't matter. The impact is the same. So he's calling out to Krishna. So at that time, all the other villagers who are there, they all wake up and then they suddenly see a big snake is kind of biting him from the foot. So they take those, the fire torches, the wood with fire, right? And they start beating the snake. But nothing is happening. The snake is just not letting Nandagopa go at all. So they keep trying to beat it up. So finally, Krishna comes there and then you go and pasparshatam. So you just touch it with your foot. So Krishna touches the snake with his foot. At that time, the snake then takes a form. Nijam Tanum takes its original form, which is that of a Vaidyadharim, which is a Vidyadhara. Like we saw in that Dasakam 47-48, the two Yamala Arjuna trees, right? It became two of the Kubera sons who got Shapam and then they became trees, right? Similarly, this is another story that is coming of somebody who is a Vidyadhara, who is one of those demigods, who then has now become a snake, right? So he then takes up that original form of his as a Vidyadhara. Samun Mukham Atol Mukhair, just breaking at the Ra, Atol Mukhair, Abhi Hatepi Tasmin Balat, comma, Amunchati Bhavat Pade Nyapati Pahi Pahiti Taihi Tada Khalu Pada Bhavan Samupagamya Pasparshatam, comma, Babhau Sacha Nijam Tanum samupasadya vaidyadharim. Samunmukhamatolmukair abhihatepi tasmin balat amunchati bhavatpade nyapati pahi pahi titaihi tada khalu pada bhavan samupagamya pasparshatam babhau sacha nijam tanum samupasadya vaidyadarim.
Samunmukham atolmukaihi abhihatepi tasmin balat amuchyati bhavatpade nyapati pahi pahi titaihi tada khalu pada bhavan samupagamya pashparshatam bhavau sacha nijam tanum samupasadya vaidhyadharim.
Deepa, the first line la atol mukaihi, if you have it, it will just take a ir becomes a joining letter. So atol mukair.
Mukhai, okay. Samunmukham atolmukhair abhihatepi tasmin balat amuchyati bhavatpade nyapati pahi pahi titaihi tada khalu pada bhavan samupagamya pashparsham tam samupagamya pashparshatam bhavau sacha nijam tanum samupasadya vaidhyadharim.
Samunmukham atolmukhair abhihatepi tasmin balat amunchadi bhavade nyapati pahi pahi titaihi tada khalu pada bhavan samupagamya pasparshatam babhau cha nijam dhanum samupasadya vaidyadarim. Samunmukham atolmukhair abhihatepi tasmin balat amunchadi bhavade nyapati pahi pahi titaihi tada khalu pada bhavan samupagamya pasparshadam babau sachachanijam dhanum samupasadya vaidyadarim.
Stanza 3. Sudarshanadhara Prabhu Nanu Sudarshanakhyosmyaham Munin Kvachidapahasam Taihamam Vyadurvahasam Bhavatpada Samarpanat Amalatam Gatosmi Tyasau Stuvan Nijapadam Yayo Vrajapadam Chagopa Muda. So here, sorry, one second, something popped up. So this person then takes the form of a Vidyadhara. He's telling his story. He's saying, I am a Vidyadhara by name of Sudarshana. So Sudarshana Kyosmyaham, that's my name. I'm a Vidyadhara by name of Sudarshana. So like we saw with the two Yamalarjuna trees, right? So when that was two, Manigriva and so when the sons of Kubera, when they were bathing in a river naked with women, Narada comes, they insult him, they don't care about him, so they then get cursed to become trees. In the Sudarshana's case, he was a very handsome Vidyadhara, very powerful and rich Vidyadhara. So when he was flying one day, he saw all these sages who were actually walking in the forest. And when the sages are walking, the sages don't dress properly. They're just wearing whatever, barks and things. So their hair is not well kept. So this Sudarshana ridicules these sages, right? Saying that how they are not well dressed, how they don't look handsome, how they are very poor. So he kinds of does all these things. So he then gets a curse. Now, whatever bad karma you put out there, you are going to get something in return that you have to, experience it. But when you do it against the great sage like Angirasa and Narada and all of that return is very high, right? So the return impact is very high. So he's then, because of that, he then takes a form of a snake. Because if you look at a snake, the snake has a very rough skin. The snake is not something that is pretty in looks, right? So he's getting that shape and he still remembers all of that stuff to realize that you cannot ridicule people's look, you cannot ridicule people's complexion or how their various status in terms of wealth and all of that, because that's what he was doing. But then he says later on, he says, I am blessed because your feet, O Krishna, is touching me. That was again, all of these sages, when they curse, they also give a pariharam in return. They say that when you come to the point of truly realizing it and understanding your mistake, in this case, Bhagavan himself is going to take an incarnation. At that point, you'll get touched by him. And when you get touched by him, that curse goes away. So that is what is happening. So he then he's released from his curse. And then he goes to Nijapadam. He then goes on to his original world, demigod his. Sudarshana Dhara Prabho Nanu Sudarshanakhyosmyaham. One word. Nanu Sudarshanakhyosmyaham, comma. Munin Kwachidapahasam ta ihamam vyadurvahasam. Bhavat pada samarpanat, just breaking at that it there, da there, samarpanat, amalatam gatosmityasau, comma, stuvan nijapadam yayau, braja padam cha gopamuda. Sudarshanadhara prabho nanu sudarshanakhyosmyaham munin kvachidapahasam ta ihamam vyadhurvahasam. Bhavat pada samarpanat amalatam gatosmityasau stuvan nijapadam yayo vrajapadam cha gopamuda.
Sudarshan.
Sorry, Rajeshji, and the Samarpana Tava Dava.
Ta.
Third line.
First ta.
Okay.
Third in Tamil. Yeah, first in Sanskrit.
Sudarshanadhara prabho nanu sudarshanakhyosmyaham munin kvajidapahasam ta ihamam vyadurvahasam bhavatpada samarpanad amalatam gatosmityasau stuvan nijapadam yayav vrajapadam cha gopa muda. Sudarshanadhara prabho nanu sudarshanakhyosmyaham munin kvachidapahasam ta ihamam vyadurvahasam bhavatpada samarpanad amalatam gatosmityasau stuvan nijapadam yayav vrajapadam cha gopa muda.
Sudarsanadhara prabho nanu sudarsana nakyosmyaham munin kvachitapahasam tahi hamam vyadurvahasam bhavat bada samarpanat amalatam kados mityasau stuvam nijapadam yayau vrajapadam cha gopa mudam. Sudarsanadhara prabho nanu sudarsana nakyosmyaham munin kvachitapahas bahasam tahihamam vyadurvahasam bhavat bada samarpanat amalatam gados mityasau stuvan nijapadam yayau vrajapadam cha gopa muda.
That's good. Kadapi khalu sirina biharate tvai stri janaihi jaharadhanadhanuka sakila shankachudo balaha atidrutam anudrutastamata mukta nari janam rurojita shiromanim halabhrite chatasya dadhaha. Another just very small story, just one stanza here. So with this, this Krishna, you and Balarama spent your time in Vrindavan. So one day, as you were actually walking along with the Gopikas, with all of this Sri Janahi, along with all the Gopikas, there was a person called Shankachuda who actually comes. And what he tries to do is he tries to actually kidnap all the Gopikas. So when he tries to kidnap all the Gopikas, so Krishna and Balarama are both there. So they start chasing him. So when they start chasing him, then he just abandons them and he then continues to run. Then Krishna then chases that person, the Shankachuda. And finally, then he runs away. Shankachuda goes away. And then he then has his name is Shankachuda because he has like a jewel, a crest jewel, something that's put on the head, which is very, shiny or very powerful, something. So Krishna then gets that thing back. And, then he decides who does he give it to? Because everybody wants that, right? So he said that Rojita Shiromanim, that money that is put on the head, that crown that is put on your head, you then end up giving it to Balarama because you didn't know who to give it to because everybody wanted it. So we end up giving it to Balarama. Just a small story there of, how Krishna and Balarama, they end up helping all the Gopas and Gopikas multiple times. Kadapi khalu sirina biharati Tvai stri janaihi, jahara dhana danugas. If you have danugaha, then put the is to join. Dhana danugas sa kila shanka chudo balaha atidrutam anudrutas tamata mukta nari janam, rurojita shiromanim Hala bhrite cha tasya dadaha. Halam is the axe that thing, that plow that Balarama carries. So Haladrite is the one who carries that plow. कदापि खलु सीरिना बिहरति त्वयि स्त्रीजनैः जहारधनदानुगः सकिल शङ्खचूडो बलाः अतिद्रुतमनुद्रुतस्तमतमुक्तनारीजनं रुरोजितशिरोमणिं हलभृते च तस्या ददाः.
कदापि खलु सीरिणा विहरति त्वयि स्त्रीजनैः जहार्धनदानुगस्खिल शङ्खचूडो बलाः अतिद्रुतम् अनुद्रुतस्तमतमुक्तनारीजनं रुरोजितशिरोमणिं हलभृते च तस्या ददाः. कदापि खलु सीरिणा विहरति त्वयि स्त्रीजनैः जहारधनदानुगस्खिल शङ्खचूडो बलाः अतिद्रुतम् अनुद्रुतस्तमतमुक्तनारीजनं रुरोजितशिरोमणिं हलभृते च तस्या ददाः.
Deepa, on the second line, Dhana Danugas Sakila. So is and the sa.
Okay. Dhana Danugas Sakila.
Yeah, Sakila Shankar.
Okay.
कदापि खलु सीरिना विहरति त्वयि स्त्रीजनैः जहारधनदानुकः सकिल शङ्खचूडो बलाः अतिद्रुतम् अनुद्रुतस्तमदमुक्तनारीजनं रुरोजितशिरोमणिं हलभृते च तस्या ददाः. कदापि खलु सीरिना विहरति त्वयि स्त्रीजनैः जहारधनदानुगः सकिल शङ्खचूडो बलाः अतिद्रुतम् अनुद्रुतस्तमदमुक्तनारीजनं रुरोजितशिरोमणिं हलभृते च तस्या ददाः.
That's a fine. दिनेषु च सुहृज्जनैः सह वनेषु लीलापरं मनोभवमनोहरं रसितवेणुनादामृतं भवन्तममरीदृशाम् अमृतपारणादायिनं विचिन्त्य किमुनालपन् विरहतापिता गोपिकाः. So just a think, just a summary kind of thing to say that with this, you and Balarama spent all your time in Vrindavan. You were hanging out with the Gopas, with the Gopikas in the forest, performing all your leelais. And then even, when you played your Venu Nadam, everybody was again getting very encapsulated in that. They were getting very carried away in that. And with this, the Gopikas, even a small amount of separation, like we saw before, even a small amount of separation, Viraha Tapita, even that small Viraham, that separation created a lot of angst in them, a lot of pain in them. He's kind of saying all this because kind of Krishna is going to leave Vrindavan pretty soon, right? So he's kind of saying with this, you are spending your time and time was just running by. And then you were spending the time, they were all missing you, even when you were there, went away for a small amount of time. Dineshu cha suhrijjanaihi. If you have put a is to join, suhrijjanais saha vaneshu leelaparam, comma, manobhava manoharam rasita venu nadamrutam bhavantam amaridrisham im, breaking at that im, amaridrisham amrita parana dayinam, comma, vichintya kimunalapan biraha tapita gopikaha. दिनेषु च सुहृज्जनैः सह वनेषु लीलापरं मनोभवमनोहरं रसितवेणुनादामृतं भवन्तममरीदृशाम् अमृतपारणादायिनं विचिन्त्य किमुनालपन् विरहतापिता गोपिकाः.
दिनेषु च सुहृजनैः सह वनेषु लीलापरं मनोभवमनोहरं रसितवेणुनादामृतं भवन्तम् अमरीदृशाम् अमृतपारणादायिनं विचिन्त्य किमुनालपन् विरहतापिता गोपिकाः. दिनेषु च सुहृजनैः सह वनेषु लीलापरं मनोभवमनोहरं रसितवेणुनादामृतं भवन्तम् अमरीदृशाम् अमृतपारणादायिनं विचिन्त्य किमुनालपन् विरहता पिता गोपिकाः
दिनेषु च स
Suhruj Janais.
दिनेषु च सुहृज्जनैः सह वनेषु लीलापरं मनोभवमनोहरं रसितवेणुनादामृतं भवन्तम् अमरीदृशाम् अमृतपारनादायिनं विचिन्त्य किमुनालपन् विरहतापिता गोपिकाः दिनेषु च सुहृज्जनैः सह वनेषु लीलापरं मनोभवमनोहरं रसितवेणुनादामृतं भवन्तममरीदृशाम् अमृतपारनादायिनं विचिन्त्य किमुनालपन् विरहतापिता गोपिकाः
Stanza 6. भोजराजभृतकस्त्वत कश्चित् कष्टदुष्टपथदृष्टिररिष्टः निष्ठुराकृतिरपष्ठुनिनादः तिष्ठते स्म भवते वृषरूपी. So, like we see in all these movies, right, where there's a big villain is there and he has all these gundas and they just randomly go into a place in a market, start terrorizing people, asking for money, fighting with people, right? That's what Kamsa's people used to do, right? So he says one random emissary of Kamsa, and one of them came in the form of this various forms. They came as a snake, and all of that. So here, this person, one of them, he comes in the form of a bull. So his name is Arishta. So this Arishta comes in the form of a bull, and then he just comes and then he just goes and starts breaking things, right? So he's very powerful, very strong bull. So he's, huffing and puffing, plowing into the ground, and then he's coming into the markets. He's coming and knocking everything off with his horns and everything. He's urinating everywhere. He's destroying property. He just happens to come to Vrindavan and just does all of these things one random day. Bhoja Raja Britakastvata, if you have Britakaha, then put a is to join that. Britakastvata kaschit, comma, kashta dushta pata drishtir arishtaha, if you want to break it, drishtir arishtaha, nishturakritir, just breaking at that ra, ir, nishturakritir, apashtu ninadaha, comma, Tishthate sma bhavate vrisha rupi, long e. Bhojaraja britakastvata kaschit kashta dushta pata drishtirarishtaha nishthura kritira pashtuninadaha tishthate sma bhavate vrisha rupi.
भोजराजभृतकस्वत कश्चित् कष्टदुष्टपथदृष्टिररिष्टः निष्ठुराकृतिरपष्टुनिनादः तिष्ठते स्म भवते वृषरूपी भोजराजभृतकस्वत कश्चित् कष्टदुष्टपथदृष्टिररिष्टः निष्ठुराकृतिरपष्टुनिनादः तिष्ठते स्म भवते वृषरूपी
भोजराजभृतकस्त्वत कश्चित् कष्टदुष्टपददृष्टिररिष्टः निष्ठुराकृतिरपष्टुनिनादः तिष्ठते स्म भवते वृषरूपी भोजराजभृतकस्त्वत कश्चित् कष्टदुष्टपददृष्टिररिष्टः निष्ठुराकृतिरपष्टुनिनादः तिष्ठते स्म भवते वृषरूपी.
Stanza 7. Shakvarota jagati dhritiharin murtimesha brihatim pradadhanaha panktimashu parighurnya pashunam chandasam nidimavapa bhavantam. So when the Arishta in the form of a bull, he's coming in, he's chasing all those animals because all those calves which are there, the cows which are there, he starts chasing all of that. He goes in and starts breaking all the properties there. So everybody is just running around in Vrindavan and they all end up landing in Nandagopa's house. and they say, you have to, Krishna, you have to help us out as well. So at that time, Krishna then is going and, standing there on the streets, and then the bull is just going and destroying property. So he claps his hand loud to just attract the attention of the bull because he's breaking properties. And then the bull looks at him, and Krishna is standing right in the middle. So at that time, he's just, bull approaches. So in Bhagavatam, it describes, because Bhagavatam goes into details, it talks about Krishna is casually standing with his arm over his friend's shoulder, just waiting for the bull to come. So not even getting ready to fight, but just casually standing there. So with this, Krishna, the bull is approaching Krishna to then come and pierce into him. Shakvarota Jagati Dhriti Hari, Murtim Esha Brihatim Pradadhanaha Panktimashu Parighurnya Pashunam, Chandasam Nidim Avapa Bhavantam. Shakvarota Jagati Dhritihari Murtimesha Brihatim Pradadhanaha Panktimashu Parighurnya Pashunam Chandasam Nidim Avapa Bhavantam.
शाक्वरोत जगदीधृतिहारी मूर्तिमेष बृहतीं प्रदधानः पङ्क्तिमाशु परिघूर्ण्य पशूनां छन्दसां निधिमवाप भवन्तम् शाक्वरोत जगतीधृतिहारी मूर्तिमेष बृहतीं प्रदधानः पङ्क्तिमाशु परिघूर्ण्य पशूनां छन्दसां निधिमवाप भवन्तम्
शाक्वरोच जगधीतृतिहारी मूर्तिमेष बृहतीं प्रददानः पङ्क्तिमासु परिपूर्ण्य पशूनां छन्दसां निधिमवाप भवन्तम् शाक्वरोच जगधीतृतिहारी मूर्तिमेष बृहतीं प्रददानः पङ्क्तिमासु परिपूर्ण्य पशूनां छन्दसां निधिमवाप भवन्तम्.
Tungashringamukam Ashvabiyantam Sangrihayya Rabasadabhiyantam Bhadrarupam api Daityam Abhadram Mardayan Amadayas Suralokam. So that Arishta then comes rushing towards Krishna, with his tail raised and this, putting the hooves then into the ground. So at that time when he comes and then he tries to poke into him, so Krishna then seizes him, holds Arishta by his horns, and then starts pushing him back like they do in, the fighting with the bulls in the Spanish bulls. He pushes him back with the horns and then finally knocks him down to the ground with his feet and gets rid of Arishta here. Tunga Shringa Mukham, just breaking at that im, Mukham Ashwabhiyantam, Sangrihayya Rabasadabhiyantam. Sangrihayya, so it's a half ya and a full ya there. Sangrihayya Rabasadabhiyantam Bhadra Rupam api Daityam Abhadram, Mardayan Amadayas. If you have Amadayaha, then put the is to join. Amadayas Suralokam. So Bhadra Rupam, because he was form of a bull. Bull is considered a bull, cow. They're all very auspicious animals, right? So he was in the form of something which is Bhadra Rupam, in the form of something which is auspicious, but he was Abhadram. He was an inauspicious person because he was a demon who had taken that form. Tungashringa Mukhamashvabhiyantam Sangrihayya Rabasadabhiyantam Bhadra Rupam api Daityam Abhadram Mardayan Amadayas Suralokam.
तुङ्गशृङ्गमुखम् आश्वभियन्तं सङ्गृह्य रभसादभियन्तं भद्ररूपमयि दैत्यं भद्रं मद्रयन्मदयस्सुरलोकम्.
The last line.
The last line.
Mardayan Amadayas.
Mardayan Amadayas.
Yeah, that is easy. If you want to break it that way, it's easier. Mardayan Amadayas Suralokam.
Mardayan Amadayas. तुङ्गशृङ्गमुखम् आश्वभियन्तं सङ्गृह्य रभसादभियं तं भद्ररूपमपि दैत्यं भद्रं मर्दयन् अमयसुरलोकम् अमयदस् सुरलोकम् अमदयस् सुरलोकम्
तुङ्गशृङ्गमुखमास्वमभियन्तं सङ्गृह्य रभसादभियं तं भद्ररूपम् अभिदैत्यम् अभद्रं मर्दयन् अमदयसुरलोकम् तुङ्गशृङ्गमुखम् आस्वमभियन्तं सङ्गृह्य रभसादभियन्तं भद्ररूपम् अभिदैत्यम् अभद्रं मर्दयन् अमदयसुरलोकम्.
That's right. चित्रमध्य भगवन् वृषघातात् सुस्थिराजनि वृषस्थितिरुर्व्यां वर्धते च वृषचेतसि भूयान् मोदयिध्यभिनुतोऽसि सुरैस्त्वम्. So 9 and 10 meaning together. चित्रमध्य भगवन् वृषघातात् comma सुस्थिराजनि वृष. This is a little bit of a tongue twister. Sustirajani vrisha stitir urvyam. Stitir urvyam. Vardate cha vrisha chetasi bhuyan, comma. Moda ityabhinutosi. That's one word. Ityabhinutosi suraistvam. चित्रमध्य भगवन् वृषघातात् सुस्थिराजनि वृषस्थितिरुर्व्यां वर्धते च वृषचेतसि भूयान् मोदयित्यभिनुतोऽसि सुरैस्त्वम्.
चित्रमध्य भगवन् वृषघातात् सुस्थिराजनि वृषस्थितिरुर्व्यां वर्धते च वृषचेतसि भूयान् मोदयित्यभिनुतोऽसि सुरैस्त्वम्. चित्रमध्य भगवन् वृषघातात् सुस्थिराजनि वृषस्थितिरुर्व्यां वर्धते च वृषचेतसि भूयान् मोदयित्यभिनुतोऽसि सुरैस्त्वम्.
चित्रमध्य भगवन् वृक्षकादात् सुस्थिराजनि वृषस्थितिरुर्व्यां वर्तते च वृषचेदसि भूयान् मोदयित्यभिनुतोऽसि सुरैस्त्वम्. चित्रमध्य भगवन् वृक्षकादात् सुस्थिराजनि वृषस्थितिरुर्व्यां वर्तते च वृषचेदसि भूयान् मोदयित्यभिनुतोऽसि सुरैस्त्वम्.
That's it. औक्षकानि परिधावत दूरं वीक्ष्यताम् अयमिहोक्ष विभेदी इत्यमातः हसितैः सह गोपैः गेहगस्त्वमववात पुरेश. Just wraps it up by saying with this Arishthasura is gotten rid of. So in the previous stanzas, the gods, the Indra and demigods are very happy saying one more person in Kamsa's group is gotten rid of, and then Krishna, you all come back home. So everybody, they're making fun of Krishna, saying, you got rid of a bull, which is bull is generally considered very auspicious, cow and bull. So you say you got rid of a bull, and then they joke about Krishna, but then they all come back home, and then Guruvayurappa, please eradicate all my ailments also. औक्षकानि परिधावत दूरं, वीक्ष्यताम् अयम् इहोक्ष विभेदी इत्तमात हसितैः, put is हसितैः सह गोपैः, गेह गस्त्वमत अव वात पुरेश. गेह गस्त्वमव वात पुरेश. औक्षकानि परिधावत दूरं वीक्ष्यताम् अयमिहोक्ष विभेदी इत्तमात हसितैः सह गोपैः गेहगस्त्वमववात पुरेश.
औक्षकानि परिधावत दूरं वीक्ष्यताम् अयमिहोक्षविभेदी इत्यमातः सितैः सह गोपैः गेहगस्तवमवातपुरेश औक्षकानि परिधावत दूरं वीक्ष्यताम् अयमिहोक्षविभेदी इत्थमातः सितैः सह गोपैः गेहगस्तवमववातपुरेश.
The last one, Gehagas Twamava.
गेहगस्त्वमव
Twam Ava.
Tvam ava.
Yeah, Twam Ava. You can break it as Twam Ava or Twam Ava. Either is okay.
Okay.
औषकानि परितावदूरं वीक्षताम् अयमिहोष बिभेदी इत्थमात हसितैः सह कोपैः गेहकस्त्वम् अववात पुरेश औषकानि परितावदूरं वीक्षताम् अयमिहोष बिभेदी इत्थमात हसितैः सह कोपैः गेहकस्त्वम् अववात पुरेश.
Krishnaya Parabrahmane Namaha. And the first word matter Auksha and the Ksha K sound. Aukshakani.
औषकानि
Aukshakani.
औक्षकानि परितावदूरम्.
All right, we'll just switch. Hema, you can be a student, and Vidya Medal, you can be a student. So Dashakam 71. Yatneshu sarveshwapi navakeshi keshi sabhoje shityrishtabandhu tvam sindhujavapya itiva matva sampraptavan sindhujavajirupaha. No, so this is like some of these things later on is going to be just like how we watch Hindi or Tamil movie, right? Halfway point in the movie. Sorry, my light is flickering. Halfway point in the movie, just before the halfway point, the villain comes. The main villain comes. So which is what is happening, right? Kamsa has been missing in action all of this time. His emissaries have been coming and doing these things, right? So Kamsa is just, he doesn't know because he still doesn't know who is the eighth son of Devaki. He's still sending people out, trying to get feelers. He's not able to find it. So like we said, anytime, even if you are a bad person or if you are a good person, if you are trying to reach Narayana, there is only one person who will guide you, which is Narada. So Narada comes here. Just like even Hiranyaksha in Dashakam 13, he was looking for that Narayana because he wanted to get rid of that Narayana. So at that time, Narada only came and guided him. Similar thing happened with Hiranyakashipu. Narada came and guided Prahlada. Same thing with Dhruva. Narada did it. So even here, Narada is coming to Kamsa and telling him, Kamsa, you completely lost the plot. You thought that, the first of all, the seventh child of Devaki, you thought was was born dead. You thought of it that way. But actually, no. That child was actually transferred over to Rohini, who was there in Gokulam in Nanda Gopa's house. The eighth child of Devaki, who you thought was a girl, was actually Nanda and Yashoda's daughter, who got swapped with a boy. And that boy is staying with Nanda and Yashoda. They are all staying in Vrindavan. So he says, you have to go and try to get those people. You're wasting your time looking all other places. So Narada is really coming and pointing Kamsa in the right direction, saying that you now go, and these are the two specific people, Krishna and Rama, who are actually sitting there, Balarama, who are sitting there in Vrindavan, who you have to go and, try to fight, do something about it. So the moment Kamsa came to know that, Vasudeva and Devaki cheated him, right, by saying that the seventh born was born dead and the eighth, they actually ended up swapping the child. So he had released them after the eighth child, right? After the Devi went up on the sky and said that, your eighth born child is born elsewhere. Then Nanda released Devaki and Vasudeva. He then imprisons them again. So he imprisons them again because he feels that they've cheated. And then he calls on his very famous couple of emissaries he has. Still some people left. One of them is called Keshi. So that Keshi, who also very similar to Arishta and all of them, can take on different forms. He tells Keshi, I want you to go to Vrindavan, find this boy, Krishna, and then get rid of him. So here in the second line, Bhattacharya is playing with some words. So the region of Sindhu, which is Pakistan, Afghanistan area, is known for horses. So he says, Keshi, you thought that coming from Sindhu, Krishna won't do anything to you because Mahalakshmi came from the ocean. Ocean is also Sindhu. So when Mahalakshmi came from the ocean, Narayana put her in his chest. So he loves people who come from Sindhu, which is ocean. So Keshi, you thought that because you came from the Sindhu region, Krishna will not do anything to you. Just playing with words here. So anyway, but Keshi comes in the form of a horse and then ends up in Vrindavan. Yatneshu sarveshwapi nava keshi, comma, keshi sa bhojeshiturishta bandhuhu tvam sindhu javapya itiva matva, comma, sampraptavan sindhuja vaji rupaha. Light went down. Anyway. Yatneshu sarveshwapi navakeshi keshi sa bhojeshi turishta bandhuhu tvam sindhujavapya itiva matva sampraptavan sindhujavaji rupaha.
यत्नेषु सर्वेष्वपि नावकेशी केशी सबोजेषि तुरिष्टबन्धुः त्वं सिन्धुजावाप्य इतीव मत्वा सम्प्राप्तवान् सिन्धुजवाजिरूपः यत्नेषु सर्वेष्वपि नावकेशी केशी सबोजेषि तुरिष्टबन्धुः त्वं सिन्धुजावाप्य इतीव मत्वा सम्प्राप्तवान् सिन्धुजवाजिरूपः
यत्नेषु सर्वेष्वपि नावकेशी केशी सबोजेषि तुरिष्टबन्धुः तं सिन्धुजावाप्य इतीव मत्वा सम्प्राप्तवान् सिन्धुजवाजिरूपः यत्नेषु सर्वेष्वपि नावकेशी केशी सबोजेषि तुरिष्टबन्धुः त्वं सिन्धुजावाप्य इतीव मत्वा सम्प्राप्तवान् सिन्धुजवाजिरूपः.
गन्धर्वतामेष गतोऽपि रूक्षैर्नादैः समुद्वेजित सर्वलोकः भवद्विलोकावधिघोपवाटीं प्रमर्द्य पापः पुनरापतत्वाम्. So this Keshi is very strong, very powerful person. So he's then running, extremely fast coming over to Vrindavan. And as he's coming, the horses neigh, right? So they make their own neighing sound. Now, again, playing with words, horses are also called as Gandharvas in Sanskrit. But Gandharvas are also demigods called Gandharvas who have very nice voice, very musical tones and voice. So he says, although you are a Gandharva, O Keshi, your sound that you are making of the neighing sound of a horse is nowhere like how Gandharvas make music or play their noise. Again, he's just saying those words, comparing the word Gandharva. But anyway, the horse, Keshi is coming here. And like how we saw Arishtasura do last time, the first thing he does is he just comes around breaking everything along the way and then enters Vrindavan. Gandharva Tamesha Gatopi Rukshair, and then you put a plus. If you have Rukshaihi, then just put a ir there. Rukshair. Nadaihi. If you have put a is to join. Nadais Samudvejita Sarvalokaha. So that line is together. Bhavat Vilokavadhi Gopa Vatin, comma, Pramardya Papaha. Put a F Papaf Punarapatatvam. It's really weird, I'm in a hotel and I think the power went off, but one light is on, other light is not on, and my laptop is not charging. But the light is on and the internet is working, so I'm assuming it will continue. I think maybe they cut off one phase or some generator is running, I'm assuming so. Anyway. Gandharvatamesha gatopi rukshairnadai samudvejita sarvalokaha bhavat vilokavadhigopavatim pramardya papah punarapatatvam.
गन्धर्वतामेष गतोऽपि रूक्षैर्नादैः समुद्वेजित सर्वलोकः भवद्विलोकावधि गोपवाटीं प्रमर्द्य पापः पुनरापतत्वां गन्धर्वतामेष गतोऽपि रूक्षैर्नादैः समुद्वेजित सर्वलोकः भवद्विलोकावधि गोपवाटीं प्रमर्द्य पापः पुनरापतत्वाम्
गन्धर्वतामेष गतोऽपि रूक्षैर्नादैः समुद्वेजित सर्वलोकः भवद्विलोकावधि गोपवाटीं प्रमर्द्य पापः पुनरापतत्वाम् गन्धर्वतामेष गतोऽपि रूक्षैर्नादैः समुद्वेजित सर्वलोकः भवद्विलोकावधि गोपवाटीं प्रमर्द्य पापः पुनरापतत्वाम्.
Stanza 3. Tarksha
Rajesh, the tvam or twam?
Twam.
That end. Oh, twam. Okay, thank you.
Stanza 3. तार्क्ष्यार्पिताङ्ग्रे स्तव तार्क्ष्य एषः चिक्षेप वक्षो भुवि नामपादं भृगोः पदाघातकतां निशम्य स्वेनापि शक्यं तदतीव मोहात्. So here, this again, Kesh is coming running, and then when he now knows exactly who to attack, right? The previous people did not know who to attack because they didn't know the target was Krishna. So here he is very clear who the target is. So he then comes, and then with this, what the horses and donkeys, they usually use their legs to kick. So that's what Kesh is doing. He's trying to take his leg and then trying to kick Krishna in the chest. And here Bhattaripad is again comparing, saying that he probably thought that because Bhrigu, when sage Bhrigu went and met Narayana and then he kicked Narayana in his chest, so Narayana did not do anything to him. He forgave him and pressed his feet. So Keshi also thought, similar to Narayana, he can kick you in the chest and nothing will happen, and you will just press his legs and you won't get angry. With that, he tried to kick you in the chest here. Tarksharpitanghrestava. It's a long word. Tarksharpitangres. If you have grehe, then you put a is there. Tarksharpitanghrestava. Tarkshya eshaha. Add a visarga and comma. Eshaha. Chikshepa vaksho bhuvi nama padam. Brigoho. Put a F. Brigoh padaghata katham nishamya, comma. Svenapi shakyam tadativa mohat. So katham nishamya, he probably heard about the story of Bhrigu and thought that he can do that to you. Tarksharpitanghrestava tarkshya eshaha chikshepa vaksho bhuvi nama padam Bhrigoh padaghata katham nishamya svenapi shakyam tadativa mohat.
Rajeshji, in the last line, third word, taditiva or
taditiva mohat.
Okay, thank you.
ताक्ष्यार्पिताङ्ग्रेस्तव ताक्ष्य एषः चिक्षेप वक्षो भुवि नामपादं भृगोः पदाघातकथां निशम्य स्वेनापि शक्यं तदितीव मोहात्. ताक्ष्यार्पिताङ्ग्रेस्तव ताक्ष्य एषः चिक्षेप वक्षो भुवि नामपादं भृगोः पदाघातकथां निशम्य स्वेनापि शक्यं तदितीव मोहात्.
तार्क्ष्यापिताङ्ग्रेस्तव ताक्ष्य एषः चिक्षेप वक्षो भुवि नामपादं भृगोः पदाघातकथां निशम्य स्वेनापि शक्यं तदितीव मोहात्. तार्क्ष्यार्पिताङ्घ्रेस्तव तार्क्ष्य एषः चिक्षेप वक्षो भुवि नामपादं भृगोः पदाघातकथां निशम्य स्वेनापि शक्यं तदितीव मोहात्.
प्रपञ्चयन्यस्य खुराञ्चलं द्राक् अमुञ्च चिक्षेपितदूरदूरं सम्मूर्छितोऽपि ह्यतिमूर्छितेन क्रोधोष्मना खादितुम् आदृतस्त्वाम्. So, when he comes and tries to stamp Krishna in the chest, and Krishna then dodges, he moves, and then he avoids that blow. And then he then seizes, again, like we did to Arishta, he holds on to the legs of Keshi and then pushes him far. Then Keshi falls, he then faints for some time, but then he regains his consciousness again and then gets even more upset. And horses, they can open their mouth wide. They have these large teeth. So he opens his mouth wide, this teeth visible, and then comes running again very fast. Pravanchayannasya Kuranchalam Drak. If you have a ga, in case you have a ga in your book, you just break it into ik and ka. So drak, ik, comma. Next word will start with the a. Amuncha chikshepita duraduram. Sammurchitopi hyati murchitena, comma. Krodhoshmana khaditum, just breaking at that im, khaditum adrutastvam. Pravanchayannasya khuranchalam draka amuncha chikshepitaduraduram sammurchitopi hyati murchitena krodhoshmana khaditum adrutastvam.
प्रवञ्चयन्नस्य कुराञ्चलं द्राक् अमुं च चिक्षेपितदूरदूरं सम्मूर्छितोऽपि ह्यतिमूर्छितेन क्रोधोष्मणा खादितुमादृतस्त्वाम् प्रवञ्चयन्नस्य कुराञ्चलं द्राक् अमुं च चिक्षेपितदूरदूरं सम्मूर्छितोऽपि ह्यतिमूर्छितेन क्रोधोष्मणा खादितुमादृतस्त्वाम्.
प्रपञ्चयन्नस्य खुराञ्चलं द्राक् अमुञ्च चिक्षेपिथ दूरदूरं सम्मूर्छितोऽपि ह्यतिमूर्छितेन क्रोधोष्मणा खादितुम् आदृतस्त्वाम् प्रवञ्चयन्नस्य खुराञ्चलं द्राक् अमुञ्च चिक्षेपिथ दूरदूरं सम्मूर्छितोऽपि ह्यतिमूर्छितेन क्रोधोष्मणा खादितुम् आदृतस्त्वाम्.
Sounds fine. Tvam vaha dande kritadhischa vaha dandam nyadhastasya mukhe tadanim tadvriddhiruddhashvasano gatasuhu sapti bhavan apyayam aikyamagat. So when he comes running with his mouth gaping wide open with all the teeth showing, then Krishna then puts his arm forward, and then Krishna's then with like a blow, and then the arm enters into his mouth, and then Keshi feels a very hot, feeling inside his mouth, right? And when the Krishna's arm enters, and finally that gets rid of Keshi. But here, like not everybody, not Arishta, but in this case, Keshi then becomes Apyayam Aikyamagat. So he then becomes one with you, which means he attains liberation. So there are certain, like we said, asuras in the beginning of Krishna Avataram. We said there are a lot of asuras who had still some residual karma left, because of which they had to be born and then eventually get rid of themselves. So that is Keshi is one of them, right? So so Keshi then becomes one with Krishna here. Tvam Baha Dande Kritadhischa Baha, then put a plus. Dandam Nyadhaha, put a is. Dandam Nyadhas Tasya Mukhe Tadani Tad Briddhi Ruddha Shvasano Gatasuhu, comma, Sapti Bhavan Apyayam, breaking at that ma, Apyayam Aikyamagat. Tvam vaha dande kritadhischa vaha dandam nyadhastasya mukhe tadanim tadvriddhi ruddhashvasano gatasuhu sapti bhavannapyayam aikyamagat.
त्वं वाहदण्डे कृतदीशबाः दण्डं यदास्तस्य मुखे तदानीं तद्वृद्धिरुद्धश्वसनो गतासुः सप्ती भवन्नप्ययमैक्यमागात्. त्वं वाहदण्डे कृतदिश्च बाहादण्डं यदास्तस्य मुखे तदानीं तद्वृद्धिरुद्धश्वसनो गतासुः सप्ती भवन्नप्ययमैक्यमागात्।
त्वं वाहदण्डे कृतधीश्च बाहादण्डं यथास्तस्य मुखे तदानीं तद्विद्धिरुद्धश्वसनो गतासुः सप्ती भवन्नप्ययम् ऐक्यमागात्। त्वं वाहदण्डे कृतधीश्च बाहादण्डं यथास्तस्य मुखे तदानीं तद्वृद्धिरुद्धश्वसनो गतासुः सप्ती भवन्नप्ययम् ऐक्यमागात्।
Answer 6. आलम्भमात्रेण पशोऽसुराणां प्रसादके नूत्न इवाश्वमेधे कृते त्वया हर्षवशात् सुरेन्द्राः त्वां तुष्टुवुः केशवनामधेयम्. So then here the demigods, the gods, they get very happy when you perform an Ashwamedha Yajna. So you got they were similarly pleased because you got rid of Keshi, who came in the form of an Ashwa, in the form of a horse. You got rid of it, so the gods were equally pleased. Now with that, Krishna gets a new name. We saw several names. We saw Govinda after when Indra came and did the Pattabhishekam, he got the name of Govinda. Then after the Damodara Leela, where he was tied around his stomach with the mortar, he got the name of Damodara. We saw how Garga Muni gave him the name Krishna. We saw the meaning of each of these. So now he gets a new name. His name is Keshava, right? So the Keshava has got multiple meanings, right? The most common what people think is you have Kesha. Kesha is hair, right? And Va means you have something well, good, So he had good flowing curly hair. So because that's another meaning of the word Keshava, right? That's the word. But the actual meaning of Keshava is the one who got rid of Keshi. So because he got rid of Keshi, he is called as Keshava, right? Now there's another third meaning of Keshava is Ka-a-isha, Kesha. So that is one that, so in Sanskrit, Brahma is called as Ka. Just the first letter Ka is Brahma. Now, Mahavishnu is called as A because later on it's going to come in Dashakam 96. You are Aksharanam Akaraha. You are the A in the Aksharam, right? Mahavishnu. So that A refers to Vishnu and Isha refers to Shiva. So Ka-a-isha is Kesha. No, Va is just there, being there. So he says the one who has all the three gods in them is also called as Keshava. So multiple meanings. But in this context, the name Keshava is given because you got rid of Keshi. Alambha matrena pashoho, put is pashos suranam, comma, prasadake nutna ivashvamedhe krite tvaya harsha vashat surendraha, comma, tvam tushtuvuh. If you have tushtuvuhu, then it takes a ich sound, tushtuvuh keshava namadheyam. Ich sound there. Alambhamatreena pashosuranam prasadake nutna ivashvamedhe krite tvaya harsha vashat surendraha tvam tushtuvuh keshava namadheyam.
आलम्बमात्रेण पशोऽसुराणां प्रसादके नूत्न इवाश्वमेधे कृते त्वया हर्षवशात् सुरेन्द्राः त्वां तुष्टुवुः केशव नामधेयम्। आलम्बमात्रेण पशोऽसुराणां प्रसादके नूत्न इवाश्वमेधे कृते त्वया कृते त्वया हर्षवशात् सुरेन्द्राः त्वां तुष्टुवुः केशव नामधेयम्.
And the word, Hema, sorry. Tvam tushtuvuh.
Sorry. Tvam tushtuvuh. Okay. Tushtuvuh.
आलम्बमात्रेण पशोऽसुराणां प्रसादके नूत्न इवाश्वमेधे कृते त्वया हर्षवशात् सुरेन्द्राः त्वां तुष्टुवुः केशवनामधेयम्। आलम्बमात्रेण पशोऽसुराणां प्रसादके नूत्न इवाश्वमेधे कृते त्वया हर्षवशात् सुरेन्द्राः त्वां तुष्टुवः केशवनामधेयम्।
कंसायते शौरिसुतत्वमुक्त्वा तं तद्वधोत्कं प्रतिरुध्य वाचा प्राप्तेन केशिक्षपणावसाने श्रीनारदेन त्वमभिष्टुतो भूः. So after Keshi's vadam happens, and next Dashakam I will tell you the actual days on which all these events happen, right? That comes in the next Dashakam. But after Kamsa goes and meets with, after Narada goes and meets with Kamsa and tells him about Krishna and Balarama, Kamsa then sends Keshi. Krishna then gets rid of Keshi in the morning. The same day, Narada comes over to Vrindavan to then meet Krishna, right? Because anytime this avatarams happen, right? All these demigods, everybody come because they also want to see and meet that person, who's doing the avataram in that form. And Narada comes and then he does namaskarams. Now, very interestingly, in Bhagavatam, Narada does a stuti to Krishna, where he literally tells everything that is going to happen in the rest of the Krishna avataram. So he says, Krishna, so far you have gotten rid of Putana, you've gotten rid of, Trinavarta, you've gotten rid of all these, you've gotten rid of Arishta, Keshi, all of this. Later on, I am going to see you get rid of Chanura, Mushtika, Kamsa, Kuvalaya Pida, and then Shankuchuda, all these other things. I'm going to see how we are going to free all these women who are in the captivity of Narakasura. I'm going to see how we are going to marry 8 other women, including Rukmini. I'm going to see how we are going to help Arjuna in the Mahabharata war. So Narada literally recites the entire plot of the entire Krishna Avataram that is still remaining there, saying that I'm looking forward to seeing all of those events as well. I think my thing froze. So did you guys lose my connection? I think I lost my connection briefly. I don't know where.
Yeah, rendu thadava freeze aachu, Rajesh. 2 times freeze aachu.
Okay. So I don't know where
that's
I lost.
Okay. Understood. That's okay.
Yeah. So what I was saying was so Narada essentially recites the entire plot of the rest of the Krishna Avataram as a stuti to Krishna, saying that I still am looking forward to seeing you do all of these things. Right? So it is as if that entire thing has already been written, or Narada and others know what is going to happen later, right? So he goes and says, I'm going to see how you're going to get rid of Kamsa, how you're going to marry all these other women. I'm going to witness Rukmini Swayamvaram that's going to happen. And I'm going to see how you're going to free all these women from this. And eventually, at the end, also do the Mahabharata and then the Gita Upadesham to Arjuna. So with this, he comes and Abhishtuto Bhuhu. Abhishtuto is to praise. So he comes and does a stuti and praises Krishna and talks about everything that's going to happen. Kamsaya te shauri sutatvam uktva, tam tat vadhotkam pratirudhya vacha praptena keshi kshapana vasane, Shri Naradena Tvam abhishtuto bhuhu. You can break it that ma if you want. Tvam abhishtuto bhuhu. Kamsayate shauri sutatvamuktva tam tadvadhotkam pratirudhya vacha praptena keshikshapana vasane Shri Naradena tvam abhishtuto bhuhu.